All right, we're going to go ahead and get started today. Today we are talking about virtual leadership. We didn't sign up for this. 5 tips to leading effectively in the digital world. I am Dr. Barbara Swinney, your life and holistic leadership coach, inspiring transformational thinking, living, and leading. After all, the very essence of holistic leadership is self-leadership. However, you cannot lead others before you're able to lead yourself. Before you can lead yourself, you must know yourself. And before you know yourself, you must be yourself. So I count it my job, my purpose, to get you to you so that you can show up in leadership wearing only the clothes that you can wear. You guys come on in, like and share, like and share, like and share. There has been so much going on in the world since March. Really since January with the passing of Kobe Bryant and the shockwave that it sent through the world. I have been doing this a long time. I was talking to a girlfriend the other day and I realized that this is my 26th year. I have been actively studying, hey Miss Briggs, leadership. Hey Leanne, I have been actively studying and practicing leadership for 26 years. I've been a teacher, I've been an assistant principal, I've been a principal, I've been an assistant superintendent, I have been an online professor, and I know you guys are wondering, how did you do all of that before 30 plus 18? Good to see you, Leanne. So on this journey, you see a lot of things come and go. And even as a certified life and leadership coach, even in that world, you see things come and go, but we have never, ever, ever seen anything like what we're experiencing right now. With all of the going to school, we're not going to school. I don't know about you, Leanne, but I have been experiencing somewhat of a emotional and mental whiplash. Yes, we're going, no, we're not. Remember when we used to pick those flowers? He loves me not. He loves me not. That's how I feel like things have been happening in this environment. So now, in my school district, we've decided that we're going back 100% virtual. And when I was on a call with my staff the other day, I started thinking about, just kind of based on some of the questions they were having, I was thinking, this is not just picking up what you do in the school building and putting it online. In some ways is that, but there are some other things that you're going to have to do in order to effectively lead online. And if you want to cultivate a positive culture and climate virtually, then you're going to have to do some of the same things that you did in the physical environment, but you're going to have to go one step further. And you guys have heard me say this over and over and over again. Leadership is leadership. It doesn't matter where you are. It matters who you are. Hey, Miss Perkins. It matters who you are. So that's why I always talk about self-leadership, because it was me focusing on myself and some of the stuff that had been embedded in my belief system that I had to get rid of so that I can be a more effective leader at work. So again, we're going to be talking about the 5 tips to leading virtually, 5 tips to effectively leading virtually in this digital world. So tip number 1, one of the biggest things that I've learned about the virtual environment, because I've also taken online classes, the virtual platform is not new to us. However, it's the first time in our history that we've gone almost totally virtual, kindergarten through college, really. So as you can imagine, there are some challenges for us, and there are gonna have to be some things that we shift and adjust. But the biggest thing that we're gonna have to do as we are leading our organizations, our teams, our schools, we're gonna have to increase our level of intentionality. We are going to have to be intentional in everything that we do as it relates to the virtual platform. So when you sit on your Zoom or whatever platform that you're using, if you're going to cultivate a thriving culture, there are 3 things that you need to always try to do. Your goal is every time you sit down and you see all of those faces on the screen, you need to stay connected, you need to foster trust, and you need to provide support. Those are the three things that you should always intentionally be looking to do. One of the things that we lose in a virtual platform is that, the bright smile in the morning. Good morning. I kind of have a sing-songy good morning. But walking through the hallway or walking in somebody's office, making that eye contact, or them even receiving just affirmation from me with a look or with a smile. Of course, you lose that in the digital platform, so you have to be intentional in looking for that. Be intentional in trying to stay connected. Don't underestimate. Listen, y'all, listen to this, because it took me a while to get this, and this goes back to self-worth and really understanding that you are valuable. When you don't know that you're valuable, you don't know your worth, you really don't understand how valuable you are to other people. Does everybody understand that? When you don't know your own worth and your own value, you don't really know how valuable you are to other people. Yes, to Tanzia, I will repeat it again right after this. So, don't underestimate how much your people need you. Just the other day, I missed a call from a teacher, and I called her back and I said, "Hey, how are you?" She said, "I'm doing great now that I hear your voice." Well, that surprised me, but I was not expecting that response. But what that told me was, in that moment, at that time, she needed to hear my voice. So in the digital platform, you need to make it your business to stay connected, foster trust, and always look for ways to provide support. Tip number 1 is be intentional. Tip number 2, create a network. One of the things that I also did during our shutdown was I knew that it was important to connect with people. That people stay connected, because that was, we were all in isolation, so that was a thing. One of the things that I did was in the school building, I would do about once a month or once every 2 months, I would have a principal's corner. I would reserve a day in which teachers or staff members could come and talk to me. They basically had full access to me. I set aside a day just for them, and they would come and talk to me. In the virtual platform, I realized that that was going to be even more important. So I set aside a day where teachers could schedule a time to meet with me one-on-one. They could come in a group. They could come as a team and talk to me about whatever they wanted to talk about. Sometimes our people need to talk to us about things that are not directly related to what has to happen in their job. However, they still need a place to land. Hey, Michael, good to see you. They still need a place to land. So make sure you're creating those small networks. Make sure you are available to them. Put them in teams. One of our teachers decided to launch, she called them interest groups, kind of like they do on Facebook. You have a page and everybody goes to that particular group. Well, she was looking to do that with our staff. But finding a way to keep people connected to each other, building small networks that are twofold. They help to keep people connected, and they accomplish the work of the organization. All right, Michael, since you're just joining us, Michael, I'm gonna repeat the first 2 tips. We are talking about 5 tips to help you lead effectively in the virtual platform. Tip number 1 is be intentional. You have to be far more intentional in a virtual platform than you have to be in the physical space. Number 2, create networks. Your network should be twofold. They should be able to accomplish the work needed for the organization, as well as staying in connection with each other. Tip number 3. Now this one is big. And you might not realize that you need to do this until you're sitting in front of the computer and you see some things that you probably shouldn't see. So you have to make sure, just like when you're in the school building, you have to establish clear expectations for all entities. How are we going to engage? What's the protocol for engaging in a virtual platform? What's the protocol for when all of the people have access at the same time? How are you going to stop everybody from talking all at the same time? Simple stuff, but you have to be very organized and make sure that everybody has a space to think and talk and process. Also, you have to have a clear agenda. Know what you're talking about when you go in there. And I don't know about y'all, and if we're using a virtual platform or on any Zooms for work, you are about zoomed out. So as the leader, make sure you're sensitive to people's time. And one of the things that we did not account for is when we sent teachers home, we didn't realize that the teachers were parents as well. So they also became teachers that had to teach and teachers that had to parent. And that caused a challenge for some people. So in this platform, of course you have to have clear expectations, but you also have to give people grace and help them make the adjustment. All right. Tip number 1 for effectively leading in a virtual platform. Tip number 1 is be intentional. Make sure you're present with your people. Tip number 2, create networks. Tip number 3, establish clear expectations. Set virtual etiquette. What's the virtual etiquette that you're going to use? Set that for every single entity. Another thing that came up today as I was talking to my cousin. Hey, Dr. McGee. As I was talking to my cousin, we were just talking about how sometimes, because we're in this virtual platform, the lines between home and work are blurred. So as a part of establishing your expectations, you also have to make sure you are establishing boundaries. In the building, we have an open door policy, basically meaning you can just kind of drop in and talk as you need to. Well, that doesn't work when you're at home with your family and you're trying to be a mother and a father and take care of business. So you have to establish boundaries. Not only do you have to establish boundaries, you also have to respect other people's boundaries. So yes, we talked way more than we in the virtual platform than we did in the physical platform. But you also have to be very, very careful to protect people's time, to respect the time that they have with their families. Don't call them at 6 o'clock at night. Don't do that. Don't get mad if I don't answer. Don't do that either. Okay? Tip number 1, Dr. McGee, you just came in here. We are talking about the 5 tips for effectively leading in a virtual or in a digital world. Tip number 1 was be intentional, because Dr. McGee, I know that you are a principal that is in those classrooms and you're walking down the halls and you're greeting people and they are just welcoming your presence. Well, that's the thing that the virtual platform takes away from us. We don't have the ability to be in their presence. They don't have the pleasure of seeing our smile and letting them know that everything is okay. So we have to be intentional in doing that in the platform. So every time that we sit in front of this computer and we see all of these faces on the screen, we need to make sure we are looking to stay connected, foster trust, and provide support. Be intentional in doing that. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2, create networks. Your network should be able to accomplish 2 goals. 1, get the work of the organization done. 2, get the work of the organization done, as well as create that culture or climate of connectedness. Tip number 3, establish clear expectations for all entities. If you're an educational leader, I know we're getting ready to go back and greet our teachers tomorrow. You need to make sure that you establish clear expectations for teacher participation, parent participation, and student participation. No more riding in the car while you're in a team meeting. that doesn't fly, because when you're in a virtual environment, you have to make sure you're attentive and you're present at the meetings, because we already can't see you and we've lost the ability to connect fully. Tip number 4. Oh, this one is huge. Communicate, communicate, communicate. Frequently, concisely, and in multiple modes. Again, I think I said this at the top. When you sit in front of your staff or your team or whomever you're leading, make sure you have an agenda so that everything is clear. After you have your meeting and you go through your agenda items, make sure you follow up with an email, you follow up with a text. According to research, something has to be communicated to us 7 different times before we internalize it. So it's important that you are communicating your message over and over and over again. It might seem redundant, but when you are leading an organization, especially if it's a large organization, communication is key. I heard somebody say lack of communication breeds frustration, and we don't want that to become a part of our culture, because we're already having to overcome the obstacle of being virtual. Okay? And also remember that communicating is a two-way street. You need to make sure you are communicating with empathy, but also speak impeccably. When you're on these platforms, sometimes your intonation, your tone can be misconstrued, or make sure you watch your face, fix your face, because you don't want any of those things to be misconstrued or misinterpreted by some of the people that are looking on. And because you are the leader and they respect you as the leader, it is not likely that they're going to call you out on it. So you have to be self-aware, understand, and be in tune with what your body is doing and how your body is responding to what's being said. Generally, if you're not taking things personally, then your response or your body language won't look as if you are offended. Okay? And tip number 5. This one could solve everything. Remember the purpose of leadership. The purpose of leadership is twofold. The purpose of leadership is to inspire people to action, and is to grow other leaders. One of the questions that you have to ask yourself, what are you inspiring people to do? After they have an encounter with you, what do they want to go and do? Do they want to go and change the world, or do they wish they were no longer a part of the world? So you have to make sure that you are, one, remembering the purpose of leadership, which is to grow other people, as well as inspire other people to action, which means you've got to paint a clear picture of how you want this to look, establish a compelling vision, so that they know exactly what to do when they go out. When you give them a charge, they're not confused about what they're doing, and they're able to go out and do that. Again, rally them around a clear vision and common goals. Thank you, Belaney, for putting those points in there. That's really helping me. I appreciate it. I know that's what you're trying to do. Love you. Back to the top, 5 tips for leading effectively in a cyber world. Tip number 1, be intentional. Always be intentional in looking to stay connected, foster trust, and provide support. Tip number 2, create networks that can get the work done of the organization, as well as keep people connected to each other. Tip number 3, establish clear expectations for all entities. So for every group, make sure you have clear expectations. Make sure you go through role clarity and make it so that you're sure that everybody knows who to go to for what, but make sure those expectations are clear. Tip number 4, communicate, communicate, communicate. Remember, communication is a two-way street, so make sure you're speaking impeccably and listening empathetically. Tip number 5, which is the last tip, Remember the purpose of leadership. The purpose of leadership is to inspire action and to grow others. That is all of the tips. If you're going to grow other people, then you have to grow yourself. You cannot grow your organization, your team, your family beyond your own capacity. So as leaders, we are morally obligated to grow. And I want to challenge you or ask you, what is your professional and personal growth plan? We do a lot of trying to grow other people. We do a lot of focusing on the students, focusing on the staff, but it's rare that we take the time to grow ourselves. So I want you to ask yourself the question, how do I continue to grow and learn as a leader? It is important that you have a leadership coach, a leadership mentor. I have at any given time 2 or 3 coaches, and I have worked with coaches and mentors my entire career. That is going to be very key to your success as a leader. That's going to be very key to your continual evolution as a leader. Let me see. Are there any questions? Do you guys have any questions? Thank you, Ms. Teklu, for putting those points in there. Thank all of you for joining me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So listen, if you are looking for a way to continue to grow and learn, I am Dr. Barbara Swinney, and I am a life and holistic leadership coach. I do the life coaching part because sometimes life happens right in the middle of your leadership, and I am here to hold the space for you to think about your next while you handle your now. If you go to my website, barbaraswinneyinc.com, you can sign up for my Leadership 101 class that we have a new session starting soon, or you can go to B. Swinney free gift and download the free gift. But I would certainly enjoy and welcome you to schedule a discovery call. You can do that on my website at barbaraswinneyinc.com. If there are no other questions, I'm going to thank you again for taking the time to sit in with me. If I've missed you, I'm so sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Darnisha. I didn't see you come in. Thank you for spending this time with me. We are about at our time. We begin and we'll end on time. I try to do about 15 minutes. Hi, Yolanda. Thank you for joining us. Yolanda, we are closing, but I am hopeful that you will join us next time. We sit here every Sunday at 5 o'clock. Next week, I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about next week. I have a couple of topics that I'd like to explore, so I don't want to tell you what it is and then I don't get to that particular topic. But thank all of you for joining us. B. Swinney Inc. free gift. Go to the website and get the free gift. It's 21 Values of an Effective Leader. You can also check out my website at barbaraswinneyinc.com. Sign up for one of the leadership classes. We have a session coming up in just a couple of weeks, Leadership 101. How to become a true leader. There are 8 modules for that particular class, and it deals with who you are as a leader. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tanzia. Tanzia says, this was very helpful. Thank you. Oh, wow. You just don't know. Thank you. I appreciate you. I thank all of you for taking this time and spending these 15 or 20 minutes with me, and I will see you next Sunday.